Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
Welcome in. How are we doing here on a Tuesday? Life is good on a Tuesday, right? Steve Sparky Fifer here. Our guy Charlie using other side of the glass. This is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Only one guest today, which means lots and lots of room for you to be involved and be a part of the show today. Eric Name, Bucks beat writer for The Athletic. He'll come up at 3:20. Charlie Sounds of the day at 3:40. Green and Gold update at 4. Things that we missed on today's show at 4:40. So we'll get to all of that coming up tonight. Opening night of the NBA season as well. So we're going to make our NBA predictions. We'll do that and things that we missed coming up at 4:40 later on in the show. We are going to do a little bit more Badgers conversation coming up here at 2:20. But I want to start off talking about a topic that we were going to do yesterday that we missed. And it involves the Brewers and Freddy Peralta. And I understand that there are some people that don't want to hear about this. And I was listening to 9 to Noon with John Kuhn and Rami Makloff earlier today on this very network, and they were yelling and screaming at one another about the money that Mark Attanasio has or doesn't have and how much he should be spending or not be spending and so forth. This is the thing. When we talk about this whole deal about the Bucks and where we are today and where we are with the Brewers and where we are with the Packers, all three teams are in good position to compete in the postseason every year, right? Every year, when we get to the point of making preseason predictions, we are talking about how far can the Bucks go in the playoffs? How far can the Packers go in the playoffs? How far can the Brewers go in the playoffs? And it does not matter what happened in the offseason. Corbin Burns left. Okay. Devin Williams left. Okay. William Adames is gone. Okay. And the Brewers are picked to go second in the division and be in the playoffs behind the Cubs. And then the Brewers go and win the most games ever and go to an NBA final or go to the NLCS. Then you have the Milwaukee Bucks. Drew Holiday gone after winning a championship. They bring in Damian Lillard. That didn't work out so well because of injuries and so forth. And everybody's like, oh, they're screwed now. And in comes Miles Turner. And everybody has them being back in the playoffs again, probably top 5, top 6 seed in the East. And everybody has them penciled back in. The Green Bay Packers go from Favre to Rodgers to Jordan Love. The year that was supposed to be a rebuild, they go into Dallas and beat a team that smoked everybody at home that year and get to the next round. Last year, back in the playoffs again. This year, as we sit right now, best record in the NFC. Players come, players go. Good organizations. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Good organizations always figure out a way to compete at a high level and win. So before you get mad about the Freddy Peralta conversation, just remember that all of these organizations, all three of these pro organizations, lose key pieces from year to year, and somehow, some way, almost always, for the last, 10 years, end up in the postseason. Can't say that same thing about Chicago sports teams.
Thanks.
Can't say that same thing about Detroit sports teams. Can't say the same thing about Minnesota sports teams, right? You can't say that in other cities or states, however you want to look at it. Go see New York. Can't say it about their teams. But for whatever the reason, you've got three brain trusts that know what the heck they're doing. Now, does it result in championships every year? No. But you don't have to worry about sucking for 20 years like we used to when we were growing up. For those of you that are older like me. So there was a report out of The Athletic over the weekend that the Brewers are open to taking calls from Freddy Peralta this offseason. Freddy Peralta has $8 million left on his deal. 1 year. Before you say no, I'm not doing it. Because I think that's where a lot of people are. Absolutely not. I'm not trading him. I can respect that. My question is, what would the package have to look like in order for you to trade Freddy Peralta? The question isn't, would you be open to trading for Freddy Peralta, yes or no? The question isn't, are you in favor of trading Freddy Peralta, yes or no? The question is, what would the package have to be coming back in order to make that deal? Think about it from this perspective. If I was a Cowboys fan months ago, and this Micah Parsons thing was going down, I would imagine in Dallas, some sports talk show somewhere in Dallas probably did hey man, if this doesn't work out, what do you got to have to get Micah Parsons to somewhere else? What would that deal have to look like if the Cowboys were going to trade Micah Parsons? Just like when on this show, for the last year, we talked about trading for Trey Hendrickson, the pass rusher for the Bengals, who, by the way, is on the market again, it looks like, with the trade deadline coming up, and what you would give up. The Packers got 2 1s and Kenny Clark, and that had the Cowboys convinced, good enough, thank you, deal. So I'm asking you, if you're Matt Arnold and you're the GM of the Brewers, what kind of deal are you looking for here for Freddy Peralta? What does it have to include? I don't need names. Just give me a general sense of how big of a deal this has to be for you to get this done. Because I think you could argue, maybe it's not much of an argument, this was Freddy Peralta's best year as a starting pitcher in baseball. In Major League Baseball, this was the best year he's probably put together in his career. Front to back, most consistent by far throughout the course of an entire season. Maybe he didn't pitch as deep into games, maybe, as other years, but he was good. He was really good for 5 innings every time out. And then sometimes, he couldn't get past that because of pitch count, whatever. So there is going to be a market for Freddy Peralta. There is a piece on CBS Sports. We'll get more into it coming up at 3 o'clock on the Brewers. But it talks about what this rotation would look like if the Brewers were to trade Freddy Peralta this offseason, if they were to do it. They're not suggesting they do it, but they're saying, let's say they trade him. What does that rotation look like at that point if they were to trade him? And we talked about this as well. Jacob Mizorowski, right? He's your one. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Mizorowski is the one. Chad Patrick, maybe your 2. Robert Gasser, right? Maybe he's your 3 at this point. You have Logan Henderson. You have Tobias Myers. Now, again, I don't know where everybody is on Tobias Myers one way or the other. But you do have some depth pieces here in order to make this work at the end of the day, to get this done. So maybe you don't need a pitcher in return for Freddy Peralta. Maybe you don't need young pitching in return for Freddy Peralta. Maybe it's something else. Maybe you don't even want prospects for Freddy Peralta. Maybe you want something major league ready. The one thing I've learned along my life experiences when it comes to getting something that somebody wants, regardless of what aspect it falls into in your life, whether it's sports or something else. And it's a wise lesson that I learned from the WWF when I was growing up as a child, from the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, which is everybody has a price. And it was a shtick, right? But it's so true. Everybody has a price. everybody, eventually, you will offer something so outrageous to somebody to get something that you want. They'll be like, are you serious? Yeah, I'm serious. Here you go. Baseball card yours. You're serious? You're going to give me all that for that bicycle? Here you go. Enjoy. Doesn't mean that much to me. You're going to give me what for Freddy Peralta? He's yours. Deal. Figure it out later if I'm the Brewers. That's what I want to know. What would you want? What will make you convinced that this is what the Brewers need to do? Nikolai Law, talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at WI Sports Radio, at WI Sports Radio. Brian Muskego, you're up first on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy C. Sparky Fifer with you here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. What's up?
Good afternoon. It's McGonigal, but
oh, sorry, I said it wrong. Sorry, my fault.
My question is, you're 100% right. They're so vested in Deal Hall and Gassert and The Miz. I don't think it would be stupid to trade. We don't need to do what the Bucks did years ago and trade a Kareem to have a nice team for 10 years with the players they got back. They were never going to win a championship with those guys, but it was a good team. My thing is they need a thumper, and all you had to do was watch the game last night. Perfect example. Blue Jays would be at home with the Brewers if they didn't have a Springer in the lineup hitting that 3-run home in the bottom of the seventh. They did not have that, and that's what they need. They got nice pieces, but they need that guy, that one guy, maybe two, that can hit the ball in crucial situations. A guy that can come to the plate and be 0 for 11, and all of a sudden, boom, he hits the home run that puts them into the World Series. They're missing that, and they haven't had that for consistently for some time. You know, to trade for more pitching and stuff from in the minor leagues and have the next best minor league system for the next 20 years is ridiculous. You need to win now. Nobody's going to remember those players that you're going to eventually stash and trade down the road for somebody else to keep your team nice. You need to go for it. And that, with all the pitching they have that are coming up through the minor leagues and all the studs that they claim they have, they need to go and get a Trump. And this is the perfect time to trade Peralta. He's at his best value right now. The chances of him being as good next year as he was this year with injuries and everything else that can come in to a long Major League Baseball season, they need to take advantage of it now, especially in the market there are. They're not going to be the Dodgers, the Mets, where they can spend billions of dollars. They need to take advantage of the opportunity. And Peralta set them up nice, and he's a good guy, good community guy and everything. But sometimes you just got to take the tough move.
That's it. That's the other part about this. Thanks for the call, which is the community aspect. My kid plays for a baseball program, travel baseball program that is associated with Freddy Peralta. He works out there sometimes in the winter. They did a charity event with him as well. And there's some ties between the travel program and him. So him leaving to be traded to go somewhere else, that sucks, right? You don't get all that additional benefits you have if he is there and part of it and so forth. He does a lot of stuff in the community. Good dude. I haven't heard anybody say anything bad about Freddy Peralta, at least from my perspective. I've never heard anything bad. So that also makes it probably a little bit more difficult of a decision because you don't want to lose good people out of your organization. You don't want to lose guys that kind of help to be the heartbeat of the organization like Willie Adames was. And that was a whole big talking point before the season. How do you replace that captain, like that heartbeat, right? How do you replace that in that clubhouse? That's what I was most concerned about. I wasn't as worried about the home runs. I was more concerned about him being the heartbeat of this franchise for so long. How do you replace that? Guess what? They figured it out. And they moved on. And they won more games than they ever did with Willie Adames. And everything was fine. That's why when everybody gets mad about this whole Freddy Peralta conversation, I tell everybody, chill out, man. Life will be fine. They will move on. They have enough depth. And on the Nikolai Law talk and text line, numerous ones of you. I got one from the 262, one from the 414. Hey, you forgot about Quinn Priester. Yes, I did. Sorry. I knew I was missing somebody when I was going through the list. And I printed off the piece from CBS Sports and using that as a reference piece so I didn't forget and doesn't even want me to show it.
Yeah, your camera broke right when you tried to show it.
It literally starts with 5. So when they print it out, 1 through 4 is not even on the list. So I was trying to do it by memory. So yes, Quinn Priester is the other one. So you're talking about Mizorowski, Priester, Patrick, Gasser, probably are your top 4, and then debate amongst yourself. Tobias Myers, Carlos Rodriguez, if you think he's that guy, Logan Henderson, if you think he's that guy, figure out whoever that may be. Or do you bring back a vet like Quintana for another year, go out and find a vet like that to put into that rotation to go along with those younger guys? But the point is you have enough guys where you should be okay moving forward if you were to lose a Freddy Peralta. So what would the package have to look like for you to trade Freddy Peralta? Trell, north side of Milwaukee. You're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, Trell?
I vehemently disagree with this premise.
Oh, you were looking forward to this since yesterday, weren't you? Yeah.
See, you know what? This has been 20 years of wishes and a lot of BS from Mark A. So what I want as a Brewers fan is for him to sell the team. That's what I want. Because just for us being Brewers fans, talking about trading the only pitcher that was reliable in the playoffs for us. And now we're going to talk about, well, we're going to have this guy and this guy. Well, where was Quinn Priester in the playoffs? I don't remember him even really starting the game like that. And if he did, he was out right away. The only young pitcher that we really had to rely on was Mizorowski, and everybody knows why. It's because his speed. He's going to be there. Okay, that's fine. You don't get rid of a veteran pitcher like Peralta and talk about, well, we'll be fine. No, we won't. That's why the Brewers, we never win anything. The only thing we can hope for is lightning in a bottle, and maybe we'll make it to the NLCS. We don't win anything. And every time we have a good team, guess what? Get ready to trade your best player, and we're going to hope for another genie in a bottle again to see if we can ride the wave to get to an NLCS, because we'll never make it to a World Series. Lord willing that we won't ever win a World Series in a lifetime while I'm here. So, I mean, I'm just sick of this whole premise, this whole outlook about of us being a stepchild, and always got to think about getting rid of the best thing we even got. Why can't we add to Peralta? We should be trying to add more stable, reliable pitchers in the postseason to Peralta instead of trading the only one that was standing at the end of the day.
Trell, why did they lose the playoffs?
What do you mean?
They didn't lose the playoffs because they were pitching. They lost the playoffs because they couldn't score enough runs. The issue wasn't the pitching. The issue wasn't that. The issue was the hitting. If you're the Milwaukee Brewers, you can look at the playoffs and go, we need to add another bat or two that can step up against better quality pitching in the postseason. Before you worry about pitching in the postseason, the pitchers did their jobs this postseason.
No, they did not. We got Genie and a Sparky. Let's be honest. The Brewers peaked too early. And we should have never bought into that bull crap. We should have been trying to get a bat. But guess what? We can't think about adding to this team because we got an owner who doesn't want to spend money.
Yeah.
It's BS. And I'm tired of having that mentality. Sell the team to somebody. And the premises is they keep the team in Milwaukee. And that's it. Keep the team in Milwaukee. Hopefully we got a person that's going to spend money who wants to be a winner. Because it's a difference between just you can be who's the owner of the Cleveland Browns? I don't want one of him just because he got money.
Jimmy Haslam. He's also an owner of the Milwaukee. He also owns the Milwaukee. He also owns the Milwaukee Bucks, by the way, Trell.
Yeah, I couldn't stand that either.
Me either. I'm with you. Trell, thanks for the call. I gotta get some other calls, Trell. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it, man. Take care. All right, so look, I agree. He ain't gonna spend more than he's spending, probably, right? I don't see a $20 or $30 million increase. There doesn't seem to be any want to of minority owners being bought out by somebody with a whole heck of a lot more money that can infuse more money into this one, Mark can. There doesn't seem to be an appetite for that at all. So I don't think that's going to occur anytime soon. But guys, when you're strapped for payroll, you have to figure out where is the money best spent, right? So Yelich is going to be making $24, $25 million next year. You're going to have payroll coming off, right? Brandon Woodruff has a mutual option. Right now, he's on the books for $20 million next year. Well, that's not happening. So more than likely, Brandon Woodruff is gone. And if he's back, it's going to be at less than $20 million. We know that. Hoskins was around $20 million. He's done. So he's going to be gone as well. So you have to start figuring out, where are you going to spend the money? If you look at Freddy Peralta, How much do you think he's going to make? I brought up the salaries on Spotrac for starting pitchers for 2026. Shota Imanaga, $20.2 million. Jack Flaherty, $20 million. Let's see here. Some of the other guys. Luis Castillo of the Mariners, $22.7 million. Logan Webb of the Giants, $23 million. Kevin Gausman, saw him last night for Toronto, $23 million. Garrett Crochet for Boston, $24 million. Is he in that conversation? Does he belong in those numbers? If I was a betting man, I would bet that Freddy Peralta gets north of $20 million. I don't know how much north of $20 million, but he's going to get at least $20 million on the open market.
I would 100% guarantee that. I think $20 million doesn't seem that crazy. I would say he gets maybe $22 million on the open market. I think there's going to be somebody who's going to offer him more than $20 million.
So I think if you want Freddy Peralta, you go to him 5 and 100, Freddy Peralta signs. That's how I think this plays out. Now, will they go to Freddy Peralta at 5 on 100? I don't think they will. I don't. Because of a couple of reasons. One, he's not as young as Mizorowski and some of these other young guys that are coming. That's number one. Number two, injuries in pitchers are synonymous. See Corbin Burns and what happened with Corbin Burns. You don't know when these guys are going to break down and need Tommy John or have shoulder. See Brandon Woodruff, right? Versus a hitter, you could have injuries, but you feel a lot safer long-term with a hitter because there's always the designated hitter role. If you can hit, you can hit, right? So there seems to be more of a safe bet in putting all that money in a hitter versus a pitcher. When you're Milwaukee, you can't miss on a 5-year, $100 million deal with anybody. Yelich was killing this team for a couple of years with his lack of production, with the amount of money they were paying him. You can't miss. So because of that, no. Now, let me turn it around. What if they went to William Contreras and said, we'll give you 5 at $20 million a year? What then?
I think you give him that. I'd give him that. I like William Contreras. He's the leader and the heartbeat of this team. You saw what he can do for this team in the playoffs when he's getting going.
You don't have to give him that much money to keep him. The top catcher in baseball in 2026 is only making $15 million a year in Sean Murphy. Salvador Perez is at 13.5. Will Smith's at 13. William Contreras right now is at $12 million, sitting fourth. You could probably give him 15 to make, if you make him the highest paid catcher in baseball, $15 to $17 million a year and still not have to pay as much on a long-term deal as you would for Freddy Peralta, and you're set at catcher, not have to worry about it if you're worried about it.
You could, but that's also a little bit misleading too, because a lot of the best catchers in baseball right now are younger players. The guys that you're naming right there are older players that have already earned their money.
Cal Raleigh right now is making $11 million.
He's going to make more than that. His contract extension is going to give him more than that. Will Smith is going to make more than that.
Yes, so, Will Smith is at $13 million.
Yeah, so two guys right there are both going to make more money. You look at some of these other teams, Agustin Ramirez in Miami, if he keeps playing at that level, they're going to give him
Will
a contract.
Smith already signed a long-term deal. Will Smith is under contract through age 38.
Oh this Dodgers are just why? I hate the Dodgers, man. That's crazy. How are they able to have the second best catcher in baseball?
I'm telling you,
$13 million.
$12.9 million in 26, $12.9 million in 27. In 2028, he's age 33, $9.4 million. From that year all the way through his age 37 year in 2032. In 2033, he'll be 38, making $9.8 million.
He must just want championships, man.
Well, he's got deferred money.
Right?
He's got deferred money. $5 million a year from 2034 through 2043. $5 million a year.
That's crazy. But okay, so then maybe at that rate, if you can find a way to defer the money, you can pay William Contreras.
They defer money.
They do it all the time.
Yes.
They do it with Ryan Braun. I think is still getting paid.
Yelich is going to get deferred money. Yes.
So you can find a way to do that with a William Contreras. And I mean, if Will Smith, if that's already his brand new contract that he's gotten with the Dodgers, yeah, maybe actually you could get him for about $15 million.
That's the debate that you have to have of, do I want to give it to a pitcher or do I want to give it to a position player? Where is the money better spent? Because if you're the Brewers, you can say, but I got Jefferson Cuero. You do, but you could package Jefferson Cuero with something else to go get you something else at a different position.
You could also say long-term Jefferson Cuero, you want to learn how to play first base for us?
Absolutely.
You want to figure that out? Because if we want to keep William Contreras around and move on from Freddy Peralta, which I think is the more likely answer right now, Jefferson Cuero should be able to find out where he needs to play wherever.
I'm with you. Lewis, north side of Milwaukee. You're next in the Nicolay Law Talk and text line Wisconsin Sports Daily served up by Wendy's. See Sparky Fifer with you. What's up, Lewis?
What's up, Sparky? I think you got the answer. You haven't said it. So we owe Freddy $8 million next year, right?
Yep.
Okay, and then if he walks, we get a high draft pick, right?
No, you don't get a high draft pick necessarily, but you get something.
You get a compensatory pick, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the best deal for the Brewers. I mean, he's reliable. You don't want to lock him up.
So you let him walk in free agency for a comp pick versus trading for essentially 3 or 4 prospects.
Yeah, I don't need no prospects. I'm not going to let him walk next year when this team was really, a series away from the World Series. You got to go for it next year. We got young ball players. You're going to have to pay Mizorowski if he works out. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to pay eventually. Churio's going to get some more money. Jesus Mata, you bring him up,
got to
and
pay him.
You see what this team can do, but you just can't trade them, especially in the offseason. You just can't give up on them. I mean, like I don't want to hear about depth. Just like the other caller said, depth. Ball players and pitchers win ball games, not depth.
Fine. That's a fair point, Lewis. Thanks for the call. I haven't told you what I want. I'll tell you what I want right now. I want to start in third baseman. That starts next year for the Milwaukee Brewers. A starting third baseman with plus power. You want Freddy Peralta? I want a starting third baseman with power. Bring him to me. And I'll tell you something else. This third baseman does not have to have been in the majors this year. He could have been at AAA with 35, 40 bombs and is blocked at the major league level by some all-star, whatever the case may be. That doesn't matter to me. But I need an upgrade over Caleb Durbin at third base when it comes to some pop here going forward. So for me, that's what I'm looking for. Because if Andrew Vaughn's the answer at first, which he might be, then you've got to fix that other corner with some more pop. So if I'm moving Peralta, it's for a starting third baseman. I don't need 5 prospects. I want a starting third baseman, Charlie.
Which I don't feel like that should be that hard to go out there and try to find somebody in that category that can give you a little bit of pop. I mean, just looking at teams that are willing to pay a guy like Freddy Peralta and then also maybe make a trade with you this offseason, go over to Philadelphia and get Alec Boehm then. Find a way to pull a trade like that, a guy at
They
that
were
MLB
linked
level.
to Boehm last offseason and never happened. 414, or no, not the 414, 443 says that MLB level ready power batting shortstop and a high-level pitching prospect and an opt-in to Woodruff's contract. I'm not opting in at $20 million a year, man. I can't do that. Cannot do that. Absolutely not. 262 says, who says Freddie wouldn't take another hometown deal? He's seen other pitchers leave and not be as successful, and the Brewers have gotten the most of their pitchers. I'm telling you, he's not taking a hometown deal. Believe me if you want. Don't believe me if you don't want to. But this man took a deal to guarantee himself being a millionaire, essentially, right? To set it up. But he's way undervalued for what he's been doing the last several years. This may be his last and only chance to get a Grand Slam money deal. He has to go to the team with the most money. Whoever that is, he's got to go to the team with the most money. Now, let's go back. If the offer from the Cubs is 5 years, 23, and the Brewers is 5 at 21, okay, he stays with the Brewers. Fine. I'll say there.
You don't know if he does.
Well, for $2 million, maybe.
Craig Counsell went to the Cubs for $2 million difference.
That's true. But maybe he stays with the Brewers there. But if the offer on the table is 5 at 40 and the Brewers offer 5 at 20, he's gone. I don't care if it's the Pirates or who it is. See ya. He's got to go. So no, no, he's not doing that. And nor should he. And nor am I going to be mad at him for not doing it. Absolutely not. Hey, you can win big this October at Potawatomi. Not as big as Freddy Peralta, but play the Bird Bash game show for $50,000 in cash. Just play with your Potawatomi rewards card for entries. Prize drawing on Thursdays. Plus, their play also earns you a shot at the $300,000 December season finale. It's a Bird Bash, baby. Only at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. For more details, visit paysbig.com/Bird Bash. We're going to change gears coming up on the other side, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this whole situation involving Luke Fickell and the Badgers. This is the only Badger topic of the day. But I will tell you that former Badger fullback Matt Bernstein will join us tomorrow on this very radio program. You are not going to want to miss Matt Bernstein tomorrow. He has things to say, and we will hear them tomorrow on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. I think we're going to change the bumper music. I think we're going to make a change.
You know, let me pick it because this is old. You got a lot of old
I don't
man
want no
music.
folksy crap from you. No, I'm not going to let you pick.
I have
it.
a
No.
very eclectic taste in music, Sparky. You don't even know the depths of my music taste.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know, man. I should show in the next break. I'm gonna show Charlie my Spotify playlist.
It's gonna have like 3 total songs.
I'm gonna let you look at my Spotify playlist, and then you can give me a breakdown of whether or not you're surprised or no. That's pretty much what I thought you'd have, Sparky, and you can just go over it and tell me what you think.
All right, deal.
Because I kind of want to just do what I have on my Spotify playlist as the bumper music. Just give it to our imaging and go, here, these are the songs I want. Let's make a rotation of these songs and play it. Because it's all over, right? Like 9 to noon, they're like 90s hip hop. That's what they wanted for their bumper music.
But
So I feel like I want to change this show up a little bit to fit more of kind of my style that I like, music I like to listen to.
All right, yeah, I like that.
Change it
Make
up a little
more
bit.
personal.
A bit different. And then, for the first couple of weeks, people are like, oh, wow, I hadn't heard that song in a while, right? Maybe a little chair dancing in the car. I don't know. All right, so I want to get into this Badgers thing. We talked about it yesterday in the 3 o'clock hour. Tommy Wirtz lost his damn mind for an hour, and it was really, really good. And if you missed it, go back, listen to your favorite podcast ad. Just look for Wisconsin Sports Daily, and you will find it wherever you download your favorite podcast. Again, second hour of the show yesterday. Tommy Wirtz and I going back and forth. It was really, really good. If you are a Badger fan, you want to go back and listen to it. There has been talk about Luke Fickell's job, obviously, and we talked about it yesterday. And the one thing that I continue to hear, I heard it again today on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. I think I heard it multiple times between, Inside Wisconsin Sports in the morning from 6 to 9 with Josh Albrecht and Trevor. And then 9 to noon with Kuhn. And then, of course, we have the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Leonard Ellis, brought to you by Verizon. Between all three shows, I think I heard it multiple times. This whole idea of, Fickell doesn't deserve another chance. I don't care about 3 hurt quarterbacks 3 years in a row. It doesn't matter. So, first, let me start by saying, I'm good if they move on. I'm not here trying to tell you they shouldn't fire him, okay? That's not what I'm saying. I was a big fan of when they hired him. I still think he's probably a pretty good head coach. But it ain't working, right? Having said that, I don't feel like it is very right at all for anybody to poo-poo the idea that you haven't had a starting quarterback healthy for 3 years. If Jordan Love missed time like these guys have, which is a majority of the seasons, 3 consecutive years, and you can tell me, whoa, we got Malik Willis. Man, stop. But for 3 years, they aren't going to be as good probably as what they are with Jordan Love. You saw what it was like when Aaron Rodgers went down twice with a broken collarbone, how bad that was. You imagine him being out 3 straight years, what that thing would look like? Be horrible. And I gave you a Hall of Fame example, which the Badgers have not had one of those. And I gave you a pretty good example in Jordan Love. I don't know how good any of those 3 quarterbacks have been for Luke Fickell because none of them been able to stay on the field, whether it's been with Longo as offensive coordinator or whether it's been with Jeff Grimes as offensive coordinator. So to say it doesn't matter, come on, man. They were playing with their 4th running back out there against Ohio State. That doesn't matter. Of course it matters. Injuries play into this. So if Chris McIntosh, he didn't say this in his letter, but if Chris McIntosh comes out and says, doesn't even say to us, but says to the chancellor or to Barry Alvarez, whoever his boss is, Barry may not be on the clock, but Barry's always on the clock. He's in charge of that entire thing. If he says, you can't fire me. Like, I've had horrible luck with my starting quarterback. I don't care who the head coach is at Wisconsin. If your quarterback gets hurt every year for 3 years, you're stuck. I don't feel like that's a horrible take. I feel like that's a real take, a realistic take. There aren't many programs in Division I college football that if you took their starting quarterback out 3 straight years, is consistently going to win a bunch of games. Yes, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, Oregon's fine. They're not that. We all know they're not that. But if you even go to the second tier of programs or third tier of programs, and that's where the Badgers have been hanging around, right? Second tier prior to Fickle getting here. Now they're like damn near they are the bottom tier. But prior to that, you can only do with what you have, man. So I don't feel like that's a horrible take. I don't feel like that's giving him an out that he doesn't deserve. I think any head coach would deserve an out if that was the scenario playing out for him, Charlie.
Maybe, but
no, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the Badgers have scored 20 total points against the Big Ten so far this season, Sparky. I mean, this is a problem that is rooted deeper than the quarterback position for this Wisconsin Badgers team. What has the Wisconsin Badgers program been able to recruit their entire existence, at least through my lifetime? It's offensive linemen and it's running backs. In the state of Wisconsin, outside the state of Wisconsin, doesn't really matter. They have issues at both of those positions. Even before they got to their fourth string running back against Ohio State, it never felt like that running back position has been secure throughout the course of the Luke Fickell tenure as head coach of the Wisconsin Badgers. I mean, there's things that are more in dire need than the quarterback position right now. In my lifetime, I've only ever seen one quarterback for this Wisconsin Badgers team that reached that pretty good territory, and that was Russell Wilson.
Charlie? The Russell Wilson thing came from North Carolina State, okay? But before that, go look. There are a bunch of NFL quarterbacks that started for the Wisconsin Badgers. No, they weren't first-round picks, but they were backup quarterbacks in the league for quite some time. Now, on this roster, there aren't any backups on this roster. It doesn't feel like they're going to go to the NFL and play for a long period of time.
It doesn't feel like that at any position on this Wisconsin
Right, but my
Badgers
point
team,
is they were still getting good quarterbacks in there. No, they weren't first-round pick quarterbacks. They weren't Peyton Manning, but still NFL quality.
They were guys who were going out there that were just able to do the job. They weren't stars. They weren't studs, and NFL teams can see that and see that they can use a player like that who's easily adaptable. They were able to do that because the run game for those teams was so just dominant, and the offensive line was dominant.
Yes.
And the defense and the linebackers were dominant. You don't have any of that now. So now you're getting players that are probably of the same caliber as the players that you've seen before. The Alex Hornibrookes, the Joel Stavies.
None of these guys are that good. None of these quarterbacks are as good as those guys.
I think if you were to put a reasonable roster around them, they could at least have games where they look like those guys.
Sure, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, fine. I agree with you. But again, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how much do they want it? How much do they want? How much does Luke Fickell want it? How much is he going out and doing fundraising events and being present and shaking hands and greasing palms and all this other stuff? How much does he care about keeping talent from Wisconsin in Wisconsin? Honestly, don't look like it. Don't look like he cares about it.
Haven't seen him out in the public at all, it feels like.
Nope. I haven't seen him doing anything. Not in Wisconsin, at least. I'm sure he's all over Ohio.
Barry Alvarez does more media hits than he does. Yeah.
Correct. It's absolutely insane. That part you can question Fickell on. That part you can fire Fickell on, as far as I'm concerned. The quarterback thing, saying that's not a realistic out for McIntosh, that I don't agree with. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. If you love Wendy's classic chocolate vanilla frosty flavors, there's some big news. They're all new Frosty Swirls and now Frosty Fusions. It's the same creamy treat you've always loved. Now they flavor refresh. What are these new flavors? Well, we've got the Frosty Swirls, strawberry, brownie batter, and caramel, and the Frosty Fusions, Oreo brownie, caramel crunch, and Pop-Tart strawberry. So log in for sweet treat time with Wendy's. All new Frosty flavors, a refresh on a classic. It's got to be Wendy's. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Proud to announce new affiliates. Been doing it all week. It's part of the Wisconsin Radio Network. 99.7 WNFL in Green Bay. 93.9 The Game in Wausau. 710 The Game in Duluth Superior. And of course, 1250 AM, 105.7 FM, The Fan in Milwaukee. Make sure to follow us on social media at WI Sports Radio. Again, that's WI Sports Radio. Sparky with you, Charlie using other side of the glass. Talking about the Badger football program. Got a bunch of things coming in here as well. On the Nicolay Law Fan Talk and Text line, 414-677-1250. The 920. Couldn't agree more, Sparky. Best and most thorough take on Luke LaFleur since he was hired. That was more insightful than all the Badger media you have had on. And just the opening stanza. Look, everybody, I want y'all to understand something. And I'm going to try and do this as politely as possible here. There's a much larger difference between me sitting here talking on a microphone across the state of Wisconsin and somebody that is interacting with players and coaches every single day for 6 to 8 months and year after year after year. You can tell me all you want about what they do, but I'm sorry. They have a very difficult job, and it may not seem like it to you, but I promise you it is. They have to build relationships. They have to build trust. If they're going to break stories or get stories or whatever the case may be, all of that has to go into this. From my perspective, years ago, going into the Brewers clubhouse, when we used to do a pregame show in Milwaukee, and dealing with the fielders and those type of players back then, and they hated me, let me tell you. Oh, the stories I could tell. They hated me. And the media relations department would tell me, they all hate you. But I had a job to do, so I still had to go there and do the interviews and everything else. It was fine for the radio, whatever the case may be, but they try to make my life difficult because they hated my guts. So now I don't bother because it's pointless, because anytime you bring somebody in there, it doesn't make any sense. The beat writers, sure. That's why you've got to go about things differently. When you're a beat writer and deal with these people every day, you can say what I say. You just have to say it differently. You can't be as blunt as necessarily a sports talk guy. And sometimes I see beat writers get beat up by y'all saying, oh, you guys are soft. You don't ask tough questions, everything else. It's just a different way of doing business. That's all I can tell you. It's a different way of doing business. They all do their jobs very well. Y'all need to back off a little bit on how y'all treat these beat writers, because their job is way more difficult than you actually believe. Sports Talk and Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, presented by Paramount Plus. Count on Sundays all season long with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Coming up on the other side, Eric Name, Bucks beat writer for The Athletic. He'll join us coming up at 3:20. Charlie Sounds of the Day, brought to you by Prize Picks, comes up at 3:40. Coming up next, we talked about the Peralta deal and what it would have to look like. This piece on CBS Sports goes in depth on the Brewers offseason and what needs to be done. Power was brought up. We'll discuss what they think the Brewers need to do. It was a great, great piece. And at the end, the summary of what the Brewers are doing is even better. We'll discuss all of that straight ahead here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.